Okay, friends, Tokyo Joe here, coming at you live from Tokyo Midtown, Tokyo Town, land of Japan. Friends, you probably didn't know this. Tokyo Joe knows a lot about societies, studies the Japanese peoples, studies the Asian peoples, studies the white man, is a white man, and knows a thing or two after decades of experience observing these peoples together at work, the yellow man, the white man, to understand what's going on in the dynamics of society. Now, I will continue to produce a series for the Tokyo Foreign Podcast about the differences between Japanese societies and white man's first world societies. Example, Hana and Tadamaya, which is the face, the Asian and Japanese idea of having face and saving face in the face of adversity, in the face of criticism, and in the face of other obstacles and problems. Face is important. Image is everything. Image is very important over here in Tokyo Town, and it's very important in the rest of Asia as well. Do we in the West have face? Yes, we do. Is it as strong as what they have over here? Probably not. Today I want to talk about a real anthropological observation I made after watching the videos of a YouTube channel called It's Live, something like that. What I saw was a young Asian couple, seemed to be Asian American couple. It's Judy's Live. Check it out. It's called It's Judy's Live, right? And if you watch the video, the actual channel is called It's Judy's Live, all one word, right? You can see that they had a trip to Tokyo Town sometime in January, February, I think, this year, 2012. It's quite fascinating to watch the young, lovely couple in action. And what I see is a man who looks to me to be of Asian extraction to some degree, and a woman, his girlfriend, I believe, called Judy, who is the subject of the podcast or blog, and her name is Judy, and she looks to me to be of East Asian or Southeast Asian extraction, but American citizens. They both look American. Now, I have no idea if they're born over here or born in America, first generation, second generation, but I'm going to make a guess. I'm guessing that Judy is either first generation or came over herself, was born outside America. I really don't know. But it is a fascinating anthropological thing to watch. Why, friends? Very simple. You can see from the series of videos where they're living in Tokyo Town, eating in restaurants, shopping, experiencing the sights and sounds of Tokyo, traveling on the plane, and making statements. You can see a lot about the modern American psyche and the modern psyche of this one individual in that society. Looking at it quasi-scientifically, or even scientifically, I guess. Because I ain't no expert, I'm just making my own observation. Take it or leave it, right? Get your own expert opinion. It is obvious that some people are more prone and more able and more willing to show what I would call a display of material wealth as they perceive it than others. Now, I know on blogs some people, that's all they do, and other people, they don't do it at all. And I don't think it's right for people to say it's a vlog, therefore it's, of course, that's what you show, right? You show your food, and you show what you're doing and you show where you are. I don't think that applies here. There are a couple of examples. I can see, for example, a MacBook Pro. I can see, for example, what looks to be a Louis Vuitton bag. I don't know. What I see is a lot of emphasis upon the appearance and people doing their makeup and looking good, which is good, makes people happy, right? And I'm fascinated by this because as a first-generation migrant myself to the East, I really don't care what people think about me because I know who I am on the inside, right? I'm Tokyo Joe. I know Tokyo, and I got my own life and my own life here and my own life at home. And, you know, the 8 generations or 6 or 7 or whatever there were, American generations, there were a long time ago when my predecessors came to the continent. I'm quite happy. I know who I am. And I don't need no big name brands and showing off what I had for dinner when I paid, you know, $120 for dinner, or the fact that I, rent an apartment that's cost, $10,000 a month or whatever it is. As an example, let's say that's not true, right? I don't need to do that. But imagine if you came the other direction. Imagine if you were from China. Remember, 90% of China make less money than people in Bolivia. It is a dirt poor country. The only reason people think it's rich is because there's a billion of them. But it is a dirt poor country. And most of the people there suffer in silence. They don't get to be at the top of the tree, and they don't get to be at the top. Very few are at the top. Some in the middle, near the top, who make something which you might regard as a reasonable salary. Probably not in the West, but it is in China. And then the rest of them, 90%, live poorer than people in Bolivia. Imagine coming from that society to the United States or any Western democracy in the first world, such as Canada, Australia, parts of Western Europe, some of them, because remember, Western Europe won't accept you as much as these other countries will, because they don't like multiculturalism quite as much as the traditions we have in the New World, as I call them. Australia, America, Canada, places like that, right? Which are basically migrant countries. But essentially they are still white man Western democracies, right? Based on the English system and then modified, right? We don't have a queen, for example. We have independent government. Now I believe Canada has independent government, and I believe Australia does too. Now, imagine coming from a country like China, where you're as poor as the poorest Bolivian. Remember, Japan has 10 times the wealth per capita of China. A poor person in Japan is 10 times richer than a poor person in China. And a rich person in Japan is on average 10 times richer than a rich person in China. They approximately have the same GDP, you see, but there are 10 times more people in China land than there are in the land of Japan. See what I mean? Imagine coming from that society, dirt floors, terrible repression over the last 50 years, 100 years, 300 years, you name it, and then coming to a society like the United States. I think there is a kind of an overcompensation to hide the shame of coming from such a poor place. And also, that is enhanced by the Asian concept of honor and face. So you can't be seen to be poor. So what do? You might, for example, instead of eating a lot of food that we would eat at home, white folks, a lot of meats, and stuff like that, you would probably get by on less meat. The diet in East Asia is a lot different. And eat a lot of rice, which is dirt cheap, right? And you would spend your money on external indicators of wealth, such as Mercedes-Benz, such as Louis Vuitton, MacBook Pro, etc., etc. I don't get how this makes a person happy, but I think it does make some people happy. And then there's this whole deal of eating out and experiencing things. Fine, that's good. But the way it's being shown in these videos is kind of a little creepy, in my opinion, because I expected more of a cultural slant where people would be more interested in the origins of the food, the cultural things surrounding the food, and not, I'm at the hotel having a big breakfast and this is what we got, bang, bang, bang. And I think this is another show, a kind of a display of so-called wealth. I mean, you want to see real wealth, this ain't it, but I'm sure for these people, this was not a cheap holiday, I'm guessing. So this is an interesting cultural observation I've made of these people in this video. And I wish them well, they look like a nice young couple. But I really don't think that a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh generation white American really cares two hoots about this kind of stuff, as much as they care about the substance and getting stuff right on the inside. Whereas I think some cultures, there is more emphasis upon, and especially with first generation migrants, there is an emphasis upon appearing, the outward appearance of being wealthy. What do you think? You think that because you're materially deprived as a child or in a previous generation, you would have the same reaction? You think that the Asian culture is one that lends itself towards making sure stuff looks good on the outside, but worrying not quite as much as we do in the West on what happens on the inside? What do you think about this? You know, friends, I live for your comments. Without them, I don't know what Tokyo Joe would do. And remember, we're having an honest, frank discussion here about a social phenomenon that I am observing all around the place, and this video is just one kind of scintilla of an example of it. Make your own judgment. Let me know what you think. I don't censor your comments. I want to know. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? And friends, please rate, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, comment below, because you know I live for your comments. And I will also see you on the forum, www.thetokyoforum.tk. Follow me on the Twitter at Tokyo Joe Love, and follow the forum on the Twitter at the Tokyo Forum. And friends, please leave your comment below. What do you think? Material deprivation, migrant culture, outward displays of wealth, over the top, as opposed to other forms of expression, other interests, and other priorities? What do you think? I'm curious about what you think about this. Because, you know, being a white man in Japan ain't easy. I can tell you that. But it's probably a lot easier than being a yellow man in Japan. That's for sure, friends. Because life ain't easy if you're in this constant pressure cooker of showing face all the time. You think that's a fair statement? You think that's unfair? I'm curious. Sure. Fine. A lot of the white folks come over here and want to boast. I'm in Japan, but they ain't boasting about their Merc, or they ain't boasting about the $120 food they had. They're boasting about the experience of being able to do that and live in a different culture. And I think that's the kind of the key difference. What do you think? Friends, please rate, subscribe, and comment. I'll live for your comments, and I will see you below making your comments, and I will respond to every single one. I promise. That's the Tokyo Joe guarantee. Okay, friends, back to the Suntory Hibiki whiskey for me. Time for Tokyo Joe to have some nice pizzas and enjoy the whiskey. Bye for now, friends.